Anybody attending?
Eric is not present today. He had a conflict. You got a report.
Okay, you were good too.
Let's call the UW Extension meeting to order, 8:30 on February 3rd. Matt Peiser is absent. I'd entertain a motion to adopt the agenda and approve the minutes from January 6th. Moved by Chuck, second by Gary to adopt the agenda and approve the minutes from January 6th. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, hearing none, motion carried. Anyone here for public input? Seeing none. We'll move to educator reports. Everybody should have the reports. If there's any questions or comments, or if there's any commentary from the educators, we'll open the floor.
I was just glad to see that the ice rink is open.
Finally got some weather to make ice.
She actually went out and bought a pair of ice skates. For one time, but she went, I guess, want to play them again or something, one of those stores where you get new stuff. I'm hoping that they have, or they should, and this weather should be nice for. Turn that on? Okay, yeah. They should have good weather here making the ice and stuff as long as it doesn't get, I'm wondering what they're gonna clear it with. You know, you get 6-8 inches of snow on it.
She's not here. I don't know.
I don't know how big the rink, I haven't stopped there. I mean, seeing the picture here,
Pretty good size.
pretty good sized rink.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I would say it's all about twice the size of this room, maybe
Yeah.
even a little bigger.
So I know one thing I've been doing is I've been doing a lot of Zoom meetings. So projects and clubs have started to meet and they've been asking for support with doing some of their meetings. So those individuals who aren't tech savvy or not comfortable, I've been hosting a lot of night and weekend Zoom meetings. So that's good because it means that people are participating and active and they're doing things and they're being engaged. So I'm just really happy to report that that's continuing and people are being creative and innovative and we've worked to make things engaging and create that same feelings of belonging and that good environment for our young people and for our adults. So I'm glad to see those are continuing and that meeting schedules as busy as ever because that means we're doing stuff, right? So even if we're doing that via Zoom versus small groups, so we've got some groups that are doing some different things and working with them. The other thing I'm doing is some program approvals on a pretty regular basis for individuals that want to do things in person. So that's something that's come up. We have our third iteration of a take-home kit. Our Science Summit series will start this Saturday. And the other thing I thought might be of note is that I was named as the Extension Youth Development County-based person for the Fairs Committee. So there's a Fairs Advisory Committee that was created, and I was asked to be that person from all of Youth Development Extension to be on that. And really that's going to be looking at some different ways that we can interface with our fairs. That's between the Fairs Association, DATCAP, Wisconsin State Fair, other extension personnel, and even Dean Carl Martin has been on that with us as well. So I'm really excited to have that opportunity to be a voice for our colleagues across the state, for our families, our young people, and our volunteers as they move forward with figuring out what are some of the best ways that we can work together in partnership with our Wisconsin fairs. And I know that was something Scott had brought up earlier in the year when he had met with us. So luckily, that's really a good direct way to connect with that. So any questions about that?
any word on the fair for this year?
You know, as far as I've heard from Fair Board, things are going forward as planned. So I'm telling my families to continue with their projects. We're continuing to plan for fair as needed. What we'll be able to do as our role as extension may change a bit, but that doesn't mean that we can't work to put out some really good plans. And we've even been working with our auction committee to think through virtual options if that needs to be part of that. So if for some reason the fair wouldn't go on, how could we do small groups or a virtual show? How could we do a virtual option? And we have actually a subcommittee that's just for that for this year. So that's already, we started that back early in January, meeting and getting some of those things in place.
And I'll just add to that, like Jill said, we keep providing more and more programming for people in the best possible way that we can. I feel like pretty soon I'm going to take over Ross's job over there though, because of all the technology stuff that we're having to troubleshoot for people. Particularly, one example is these Wise Wednesdays series that we're doing. We have kind of a new series starting again now this morning at 9, and it's geared for individuals nearing retirement or in their retirement years. And there's different topics each Wednesday. So we're slowly kind of getting that population familiar with Zoom. And, so this morning I spent a little bit of time troubleshooting on the phone with a lady who said, I haven't ever used Zoom before, but I really want to connect to these learning sessions. So she was going to give it a try. And the nice thing about some of these programs too, is we're able to offer them then really statewide. And particularly with some of the parents that I work with that have really, some challenging situations that they'd probably rather keep a little bit more private. And in a small community like this, sometimes when I have parenting classes, people don't want other people to know their business. So the nice thing about some of our classes now, doing them statewide, is they are meeting other parents, but it's not anyone that they would ever know. They're coming together from all different counties across the state. So it's kind of been beneficial that way for parents to relate to other parents, but yet not feel like they're sharing something private because so-and-so knows them or they're related somehow to somebody else. So that's been a plus recently for parenting education.
So, so all your classes, these parenting classes, and then these support classes for families, it's all done virtual?
Yes, unless it's under 10. So sometimes in rare occasions, if people will, ask that, they don't have anything other than a phone at home for their
Okay.
internet, sometimes we're still connecting that way. I've been going over to Manitowoc occasionally, and there we'll set them up in a room behind the offices, and then they can use a computer in kind of like a separate room, and then we'll connect with them also that way. So there's kind of a mix of things going on, but really the number is still at 10 or fewer in person.
So if you have 10 people that are asking to come to a meeting and all 10 have a separate issue, different issue, how do you handle that?
Like a separate technology issue?
Well, no, I'm just
Or-
saying, you've listed here, some are foster parents, some are
Oh,
divorced
yeah.
parents. If they're all 10 have a separate thing they want to talk about and they're all in the room at the same time, how do you really handle that?
Yeah, normally I'm scheduling those at different times then,
Okay,
so that I can do, yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
And, sometimes because we are a small county, there's just even later today, I have a parenting class, and I think it's going to be a parenting class of 1. We started out with 3, it went down to 2. And from what I'm hearing, just people have other things in their schedules, their kids are getting into different things, or sometimes they have court dates because of what their kids are going through. And, one mom, her son went off to Rawhide Boy Ranch last week. So, she's kind of out now. So, it's all different. So yeah, like today, this afternoon, my class is down to 1 for that particular person. So it just,
One-on-one.
and then next week it might be back up to,
Sure.
8 or 9 again, depending
Sometimes
on.
one-on-one is, you get more
Yeah. Yep.
results, so
Mhm.
whatever.
Yep.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Just in Renee's report, one of the things I found interesting was, and I had no idea, that 34% of the residents or the households in Wisconsin are based on the Alice limits, are under the poverty level.
Yeah,
That's an interesting figure.
Yeah, that Alice figure coming out of United Way's research is much different than we'll typically see coming out of other, Department of Labor and other statistics like that. Yeah, even the census data is different on how they're measuring an actual living wage. I don't think I included the website there, but you can look up each county's Alice calculations, and there's several states are involved in that Alice study. And you can see what they all include for basic household needs.
Would you say that's about the average of Kewaunee counties?
Kewaunee County is 32%, and the state
That really
average is
isn't much difference, really.
34%.
Not much, a
Yeah.
little less, but
So,
no.
and then I listed for comparison, like Ozaukee County is almost always the best. So Ozaukee County is 55 or 26%.
Mhm.
And then Menominee County is 55%. So those are, Ozaukee is usually the best, Menominee County is usually the worst. So you can see where we are at 32%, kind of right in between for the average.
The only reason I raised that question is because on Monday, we had a presentation from Bay Lakes on the housing study they did in the county.
Mhm.
And looking at 34% here, the report basically says that Kewaunee County doesn't qualify for a lot of the housing programs because we're above the per capita income or the average household income in the state. So they don't qualify. So that,
Yep.
there's 32% for the county here. I don't know how that relates to what they use as a number to come up with their figures, but it would be interesting to should ask that question, I guess. I didn't know this number then.
Yeah, and again, if that's state only, then they're just looking at probably the bottom half of the counties in the state, and then we probably wouldn't, Kewaunee County's in the top half. So that might be where that figure is coming from. But HUD housing, we do have several different types of program. We also have the rural housing assistance program here too. It's quite a lengthy application process, but I was just helping a family last week or 2 weeks ago, trying to go through to get some housing repairs done through that rural housing application. So there are some other programs that might be available here for families.
One statistic that we have in the county, or the last number that I was told, was from last September. I'm assuming it's probably similar yet, but the Kewaunee County's unemployment rate was actually 0.2% last September in 2020, was 0.2% lower than what it was in 19. Okay, so we had more people employed. But I guess I caution that number as how does it relate? Do they calculate or figure out how many people are not looking for or not getting unemployment? So they're not counted as unemployed? Are there people that are, well, I hate to say it this way, but they're getting paid more money to stay home and be on unemployment than they are if they go to work. We've got so many different programs that have come into play here, and it's something that concerns me as a taxpayer, I think.
Well, the big work pool here, though, a lot of it is the farming industry.
Yeah.
So that part really never dropped off. They
Yeah.
pretty much kept going business as usual. So that made a difference in Kewaunee County.
Yeah, and I have not actually heard about any business in the county that closed because of COVID.
Small
Yeah.
businesses did.
There's
smaller ones that did.
Are they still closed?
I think
Which-
some just closed and I think are never going to open again.
Which one? Or,
Well, I'm
What
not
business?
going to name them publicly.
Oh.
But there's some in Algoma that have closed.
because I've been going around and asking it,
Some may have closed regardless.
It-
Because some may have just come to the line where they just wasn't feasible to stay open anymore. But
because places that I'm talking with, talking about like a bar, restaurant, that type of establishment, they're saying, yeah, they're doing okay. It's not back to the way it was. I'm hearing things, other ones, yeah, it's just about as good now as it was before.
Yeah.
So
I'm
it's,
surprised the bars and restaurants, the sales in Kewaunee County they're moving.
well, and then look at our sales tax receipts
Yeah.
for 2020. actually 68 out of the 72 counties in the state had higher sales tax receipts for 2020 than they did in 19. And out of the 4 counties that are lower, it's Milwaukee, Dane, Wisconsin Dells, and that's Adams or Juneau, Adams.
Sauk.
They're
Sauk.
Sauk County. They're right on the border of Sauk and anyway, them and then one other county, but that other 4th county was only 1% less than what they were in 19. So, you know, when I looking at all of that, I mean, I think if we could take away all the garbage, the rhetoric or whatever, I think collectively we'll all get through this whole situation, you know, okay. But I'm always concerned about business. I'm always concerned about any business in the county.
Brown County had to be one that took a pretty hard hit. You know, the
But their sales tax receipts are as, you know, and that's without having Packer games.
Yeah.
So the sales tax was okay. It's the room tax that we saw decrease, but sales
yeah.
tax, because the county exec met with our staff at staff meeting on Monday, and he said the county's doing fine financially. We have a AAA bond rating, but it's the room tax where we saw a hit.
Well,
So- Something else that might be driving that unemployment percent too is that they're so far behind in processing unemployment claims statewide. So you don't know if these numbers of unemployment are short term, are they, you know, are they 2 weeks, are they 3 months? Who knows? So,
But if you talk to any business place, like, you know, industrial, a little heavier, they're looking for people. There's signs all over, you know, help wanted. Look in Door County, their restaurants and they're gearing up for summer already. They're all looking for people because I don't know if they can get people from other countries to come in, you know, and work.
yeah, that's where Wisconsin Dells, I know,
There are two-
always has a lot of people. They're students or whatever, then they're coming from all over the world really
Sure.
to work.
Correct,
That I'm sure that will be affected somehow. I don't
Sure.
know.
sure.
I know that was an issue last summer in Door County about getting, you know, enough seasonal people to work, and they were having a lot of problems up there with that. But hopefully this summer will
Well,
change.
One of the things that I do when I'm working with families is I try to stay in touch with our local community resources. So, you know, previously having conversations with the Kewaunee County Economic Development Corporation director, talking with our Forward Service Corporation staff here who do the W-2 assistance program, just to find out, you know, how many families are struggling and what type of workforce development programs are available then for those families. And I did get the sense from the last conversations that I had with them that, you know, families are still faring pretty well through all of this because of all the additional resources that they've been able to receive, you know, with like rent assistance and housing assistance, food assistance, you know, but it takes a lot to piece that all together for some families that, you know, already may be struggling with transportation issues, or, you know, some of the families I'm working with have severely disabled children, or they have mental health issues themselves. So connecting them to employment might be easy to say, here's a job for you, go ahead. But there's all those other things that have to be kind of worked out in their lives on a day-to-day basis, just to even get them to the point where they're ready to get their foot in the door and start a job, and then to keep that job. So it's a balancing act always, and kind of just working with, you know, human services, like I said, forward services, workforce development, to keep families that are, and typically what I've heard them say when I was asking early on during the pandemic, you know, are you seeing more, and same thing with some of the conversations with the food pantries, is they're seeing a lot of the same people that they had previously seen. It's just that those same people are struggling even more so now, or, you know, are having to kind of dig out even more so now. But they're, you know, also new, especially the food pantries have said, you know, they've had new participants coming. It's not kind of the same residents year after year, month after month.
I'm wondering how this is going to affect us in the future. You know, as we come out of this and you go down, you know, our company's going to change the way they do business. They found out that they could do things, have their workers work from home. And I'm sure there's some loss of efficiency, I think, or there are other factors that come into play with efficiency of the worker, the people. I mean, we listen, you know, and you guys are working, you know, like Erica last month said, you know, she finds herself working at midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, yet working on something because she gets going on a project or something and she's putting things together. That's a good and a bad thing. Okay. I don't like to see you got to balance. You got to have balance in your life. And if your work is too much, that's not a good thing. Okay. Everybody loves you. You hope that everybody loves their job, but how do you balance that? Okay. And I guess that kind of concerns me is where we're going to go in the future. Are we going to get back to the way things were? I mean, like I see big buildings like, you know, Schneider Transport, that great, big, huge new building, and there's not a person working in it.
Same
Okay.
with that Wisconsin label or the old Wisconsin label on
Label.
54, 57 there.
Yep.
That's empty.
That's been sitting empty now for 8-10 months, almost a year. You know, Acuity down Sheboygan, that humongous building, and it was like doubled in size. It's probably sitting empty. My son works for Northwestern Mutual Life down in Milwaukee, has not been in his office since March 13th last year. And he knows he's not going to even be, he was already told July 1st of this year before there's any chance of him going back in. And it's not easy. He's like the head of a group he's had to hire a complete new group of some guys working on a certain project, hire some contractors, hire some other people direct for Northwestern. And it's difficult to get, you know, to really do that when you can Zoom meetings and you can meet people and, you know, all new people and interview people and stuff on, you know, with the technology we have today, but is it really the best efficient way to do it?
My daughter works for Marshfield Clinics and she'll be permanently working at home. And they will bring in the equipment and set up her office at their residence.
Wow.
Whatever, it's cheaper. You know, they're not having a building, they're not, you know, so they're gonna move all the equipment into her office and her residence, and you're gonna be there permanently, as long as you work for them.
Like I'm saying, and you know, so what happens to a Schneider Transport building or Acuity, or what happens to these big crystal palaces? I hate to call them that, but insurance companies, that's what we've all seen.
Sure.
You know, what happens to them?
Maybe our premiums will go down.
What?
Our premiums will go down.
Yeah, right.
They don't have those big buildings.
Don't hold your breath on that one. Boy,
Well, with the banking, I mean, you can do all your banking online, you can do, you know.
yeah.
Yeah, I had a family member who had a medical checkup yesterday over the phone.
Yeah.
I had one yesterday myself.
Yep.
It's, you know, it's the second time. It's a checkup every 6 months. And the last one was by phone. This one was by phone.
Yeah.
The next one,
But I bet you that.
We're gonna
same
schedule
rate
it,
that he
but we don't
charges
know.
is still there. He's probably charging the same rate.
well, this was with the VA.
So,
So-
I mean.
Thank you, taxpayers.
You're welcome. Thank you for your service.
Well, you're welcome.
Anything else for the educators? If not, we'll move on to Judy.
Extension update. Actually, I'm meeting with Erica this afternoon as well as a couple of our administrators to talk about all of these agricultural agent vacancies in this part of the state and these counties. Now that there's 3 and with Brown, Manitowoc and Dorr. So talking about what we're going to do and how we're going to move forward in regards to filling some of those positions. So that's pretty much the extension update. Educators are doing lots of programming has been shared and we're just kind of moving forward and waiting to see what's going to happen. We did meet yesterday afternoon regarding the Dorr Kewaunee legislative days. We were able to narrow down the number of issues. We had a number of issues that were submitted So things that they're going to go forward with would be broadband, housing, childcare, economic development in rural counties, workforce preparation. I'm particularly up in Door County, huge need for CNC and welders, and some of the employers up there are actually doing their own training. So those are just a few of the issues. It is.
But- Well, was
Go
there
ahead.
any thought or any discussion at all about the water bills?
So the water, they're looking at issues related to flooding and some of that kind of stuff.
Okay.
And this all needs to be, we just kind of pick broad issues. And so everything's now got to be
Sure.
funneled through
Yeah.
and figured out exactly what the message is going to be. But there is looking at some of those
Yeah.
extreme weather conditions, the erosion along the shorelines and some of that kind of.
Well, I mean, it's, we already know that the 13 water bills that were passed by the assembly last year, went to the assembly and those died. But we already know that a lot of those bills are getting individual legislation and it's already in the works and stuff like that. We don't have exactly specific yet what, each bill or a bill number. And so, but I guess, it's probably better to, I don't want to forget about those, and I would say that there should be some mention in the overall program, but if you've got things, because there's also a talk about that some of those water bills might be addressed in the budget. See, that's the other big thing that's coming in play here. It's usually the governor's budget is put together by now, but I have not heard anything from Madison. Normally we're down there this week. Like normally we would be in Madison for the Wisconsin County's legislative exchange.
Through the town saying that the budget is supposed to be out, maybe I can find it here, but I thought it was
I
mid-February.
think it was mid-February too.
Mid-February, I think it was just.
Which
sent
is a
out
little
through the
bit,
towns.
like I say, normally it would be done or announced like today or tomorrow, but if they're 2 weeks later, and that's understandable, and
It
that's
is.
fine, but there might be some of those water bills are addressed in there, so, which personally, I don't like to see that. I like to see each bill stand on its own and the budget just be about the budget, but we'll never get that changed, I don't think so.
So at this point, the plan is to go virtual.
Okay,
The Eau Claire and the surrounding counties over there have also made the decision for their legislative days to go virtual. There is talk though of sending a small contingent, maybe 5 or 6 people to Madison for some face-to-face meetings during that time. Still looking at early April for the event. Did talk to Jill this morning. They very much want young people to be engaged in this process. So Jill is going to do some recruiting and then there'll be some recruiting done in Door County as well, but think it's a great opportunity. And I think there's some of these issues that the young people could certainly have a voice on. And so that piece will be included. We only have 5 people who have expressed interest in this event. So if you have not done so, we would love for you to go online and sign up because we are going to need more than 5 people to participate in the Zoom or WebEx meetings, whichever they choose, with elected officials as well as state agency personnel.
my issue with signing up, I would love to sign up and I would be the first in line normally. But my issue is at home, I can't do a Zoom meeting. Okay, that's the broadband issue.
We could do it here.
You want the poster child?
I
Okay,
think, I
but yeah,
agree.
I'm gonna do the Wisconsin counties. Jamie said that she
We
would
could
set that up.
We could set it up here.
You could
And they're
set
gonna
it, I
set it
would,
up here,
yes.
so
I think that would be a great idea. And this would be a great place for young people if they had internet issues as well,
Yeah.
to be able to come here because we can socially distance.
and I don't know if we had so many people, we could do it at the fairgrounds too.
You could do it in multiple locations.
Okay.
Or, yeah,
So-
Highway shop,
Yep.
So you could do some here,
Some there.
Luxembourg,
Mhm.
highway shop.
yeah, highway shop.
And those who have internet access could do them from home. So I think, so yes, so don't let.
so how do I sign up? I guess back to my question to make sure
I will send you the instructions.
thank you.
Okay.
So,
So that would be great. So
Send them to all of us.
yes, I will do
Okay,
that.
Thank you.
And then maybe send one to Jamie too, so she knows, because she'll be the one probably trying to coordinate some of this stuff.
And Jamie is,
Clerk,
The
county clerk.
okay. Thank you.
Jamie Anoy.
Okay.
That's the H who ends in Hawaii.
Okay. Oh, yeah, okay, yes. And I do have a list of all the county administrative staff, so I can figure this out. So thank you. So yes, I will send the three of you information on signing up. And then I'll email Jamie that there may be a need for that period to be able to access either space here or in other county buildings.
sure.
So that'll be great. So yes, so that is moving forward. And they're going to spend the next 2 weeks taking the topics that they've kind of narrowed down because there were a lot of topics
Sure.
and starting to put together white papers on them. So
Okay.
that's the project for the next 2 weeks.
Did they set a date?
They're looking at the first week of April.
April.
So we're moving forward.
Great.
So that's pretty much my report for today.
I guess one question, have we thought about, or has other people thought about the future? You know, I guess this bothers me a little bit because I'm hearing some things as far as the future of extension in the state. I hear some things from other counties that administrators or executives are talking about, you know, do I really, and that scares me because obviously because of the budget. I mean, even though we get a chunk of money each year from the state to support our educator and the program, the department, you know, there's always seems to be, you know, administrators or whatever looking to cut taxes and sometimes that extension comes up and I
Well,
just-
and that's going to be an issue up in Ashland and Oneida counties because they're at their levy cap and they're going to be running referendums this spring to be able to get approval to raise their levy caps. So, and you haven't seen that in Wisconsin. So this is going to be that, but that's the only way you really can raise your levy cap is to go to referendum. So those are two counties that will. So we'll see what happens. If they pass, great. If they don't pass, it'll be an interesting conversation within, you know, their county board and administration about what they're going to do.
Well, I'd like to be, I guess I would like to hear about proactive measures,
Mhm.
you know, looking at what if,
Mhm,
the what if scenario, if something
Mhm.
happens, then what do we do?
mhm,
Okay, because I don't want to lose
mhm.
these people,
Mhm.
at all.
And
okay?
there's
Or
strong-
yourself for that matter.
There's strong support from former Governor Thompson, who's now president of the UW system, as well as a lot of commodity groups and the report for rural prosperity, that extension needs more employees. So I think you'll see something perhaps in the budget about adding some dollars for extension employees, whether that happens or not, because
Sure,
but the state budget picture looks better after last week when they came out with their latest report than it did a month ago.
Yeah.
So we'll see, but there certainly is a push to add some staff.
okay, good.
And I
Good.
think over in this part of the state, extension's still really well supported and strong. I think those northern counties, it's more of an issue.
Okay,
So, but
Great.
good question. We'll keep you posted on that. But
thank you.
yeah, extension, our administration's watching that very carefully, especially Oneida and Ashland counties. Because if it happens to those counties, there's, if they have to go to referendum, you know, there are other counties that are getting close to their levy cap.
Well, just about every county is. I mean, it's these levy caps they put on back in the, what was that, the late 80s?
I was gonna say
Early
92.
92? Yeah, that could be early
Yeah.
90s. Tom, you might know more
It
about
was in
that.
the early 90s. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
Makes it really challenging for counties. So.
well, it's been
Mhm.
I mean, in every single legislative session, every single year you go down to Madison, we hear the same story.
Mhm.
You know, every county,
Mhm.
it's the same story.
Mhm. I would agree. Counties do
I mean,
yeoman's work trying to get their budgets to balance and to provide as many services as they can to county residents.
Yep.
But I'll certainly
Okay.
keep you
Great.
informed. I don't know when those two referendums, if they're going on in April, I don't know what the date is for those, but we heard that
be
they
the
were
first
gonna be
Tuesday,
two.
right? When's the election? When's your
February?
election?
Oh, it
April or
would be
February?
April. It'd be the first
Be
Tuesday.
the first Tuesday in April.
Sixth.
Sixth.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I
So-
think the February one is the 19th, maybe. Does that sound right?
Yes, it's a kind of an
Yeah,
odd
that's the
date.
primary.
Yeah.
Right, yeah,
Do we have one in the county?
16th, isn't it?
16th, yeah.
Yeah, well, sure, there'll be some, Judge. I think there'll be some in there. Nothing.
We
in
don't
the-
have any in Red River.
Nothing in the county part of it.
I
but
thought we
think
had one in the
state.
county. I thought one of the towns has got
Don't
two or
know.
three. I thought there is one position that's got
Okay, could be.
3 people running, and so they gotta have a primary.
And the state superintendent of schools is the state election this year. That will be on the ballot because there's 6 candidates running.
Isn't there a judge?
So there's,
Judge.
we,
too?
I mean, there's gonna be a primary?
For the state superintendent of schools, because they have 6 candidates running.
Yeah.
That will be on the ballot.
So we do have to vote
There
on
will be a
them.
primary, yeah.
Ah,
Mhm,
Jesus.
mhm, mhm. So,
Wish there was a different way to narrow that down. I mean, those things are costly for what? 50 people show up in your whole town? I mean,
but I'll keep you up to date on what's happening with other counties with, and extension as well. As we move forward, I think we need to see what the state budget looks like for the UW system and what support there is to get some additional positions added.
Great.
Done.
That's it. Thank you. Any questions for Judy? Any more questions for Judy, I should say?
no,
Okay, let's move on then to set future meeting date. I guess we have a conflict. We had a meeting originally scheduled for March 10th because of the legislative days, so we moved it. Apparently, the law enforcement meets in this room at the same time on that Wednesday. So I got an email from Judy. We were wondering if we could change that date,
Or we could meet at the highway shop. That's open.
or is that a possibility, Ross? Or
One or the other would be Zoom televised, so you can only do one.
Oh, okay, I hear you, I hear you. Okay, okay.
so
you like?
But we have other committees that aren't doing Zoom right now that will be eventually, so if one meeting happens to be not televised, I think that's okay as well.
I mean, I don't care. I mean, I'm just saying that option.
Yeah,
out there.
yeah. I mean-
There's, yeah.
So it's pretty much up to
You guys,
if we can, if we want to change the date,
Don't matter
or
to
if
me.
we want to,
What do you want
Have-
to change it to? You want,
I don't know, I was.
And we'll have to check with Debbie to make certain.
you want to do it the 9th, or we could change it to a different date? I don't care. Or the following week.
See, Ross has his calendar, maybe he knows what's.
This is basically what's open right now, so you have it on 8.
We have executive at 6 o'clock on the 8th
Yeah.
at night.
Yeah.
But we have nothing during the day on the 8th.
Just nothing during the day on the 8th.
Could we do Monday, the 8th at 8:30?
Fine with me.
Fine with me.
Judy?
That's fine with me. What about educators?
Oh, just so you know, every second Tuesday, public health meets on that day, so they're probably gonna schedule that day on the 8th.
The 8th is, the
That's a
March
Monday.
8th is a Monday.
It's a Monday.
Yeah, and so I'm looking on February's calendar, and if you look at the 8th, public health is meeting on February, which means they probably meet the second Monday on February as well. They try to keep them on the same.
Oh,
Oh,
Okay. What about the
but
9th?
what time does public health meet?
9th, land and water, Huron.
that meets at 8:15.
So you have the 11th.
Or if you want to go later on in the day, our land and water meetings are an hour or maybe an hour and a half most.
Sure.
So, if we want to go 10 o'clock, we could do 10 o'clock here on the 9th. It wouldn't matter to me. Or-
9th, I can't do the 9th
Okay,
at all.
okay. That's fine.
Or you
Um,
can keep it on the 10th, and just move it to the highway, and we just won't televise.
I mean,
That,
has anybody heard any feedback? How many people are on TV to watch us?
Right now, there's 2 viewing, and I think I'm
There's-
one of them.
And you're one of them. Okay, not that I don't want to, I want anybody and everybody that wants,
Yeah.
you know, to be able to see or hear or whatever, but I mean, if,
Every once in a while, there's a conflict and there's times where we don't put it on YouTube, so.
yeah,
So we're going to do the,
So why don't we do the 8th at 8:30, but at the highway shop? If that's okay.
okay, so
No,
we're not
we-
gonna do
wait
the
a minute.
10th, we're gonna do the 8th.
normally we
the
were doing
10th.
the 10th.
The 10th. Leave it on the 10th.
Leave
but
it on the
at
10th.
the same time, but at the highway shop.
Got it. We probably need to make sure that it's reserved though, so Mary would have to know it down at the highway shop.
Okay.
I think she's the gal that's taking
Closer for me, closer for you too.
sounds good.
I drive right by the highway shop to get here.
Then if we look at April, I don't know if you don't look that far ahead, but the first Wednesday would be April 7th.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. Here,
Right.
Sure. Okay, now once we got the 10th figured out, that's,
That's great.
it didn't hurt.
Who's going to contact Mary?
I'm gonna see her tomorrow.
Perfect. Would you like to ask her?
I can do that, yeah.
Super.
Well, we're both gonna see her
yeah, we'll
tomorrow,
both see
but
you tomorrow.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
So we'll let you guys make certain she's got space available over
Yeah.
there.
And Ross, you could always go to the fairgrounds if that's too, right? And be a piece to get in there, so.
extension, I mean, at the 4-H room, is
Yeah.
that set up now for it?
Yeah, Ross just said that that's set up for.
Okay. Okay,
Or
Yeah.
would you rather go to the 4-H room?
it makes no difference to me.
Don't bother me either.
I just gotta keep waiting this out.
Where would you guys prefer?
Makes no difference.
Makes no difference.
Whatever you guys want to do, I just, like, if the highway shop wouldn't be available, then you have another option.
Okay.
ISPs,
I mean, we
wouldn't
can
have to have
do
a-
that, Luxembourg, I don't care. Whatever's closer for everybody.
My guess is the highway shop would be, there won't be a conflict there, but.
Yeah.
It's-
Let's leave it at the highway shop, and if we run into problems tomorrow, we'll
Okay.
move to the fairgrounds.
Sure.
All right, very good.
Good.
Glad we got through that executive decision.
Oh, boy. That was the toughest decision we had to make
Yeah, that was the
today.
hardest thing all morning.
That's all we.
You know, but if that's the hardest thing all week, that's good.
Roll call vote.
Yeah. I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
I'll second that motion.
All right.